record right now. All right. I don't know if you see the record thing on yours end or whatever, but you'll probably see it on the chat there if you. I don't know if you see that or not. There's a little red dot that just
Oh
says
yeah,
we're
okay,
recording.
I see it. Sure.
Okay. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'll start off with a little introduction, and we'll just wing it. Talk about
Okay.
whatever. I don't really care. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Frankie Slauson, and welcome to a special edition of the Frankie Slauson Show, live here on Zoom and Facebook and YouTube. And we're just having a good time tonight here as we record it. This is actually we're on a Tuesday night here in northern Minnesota, but as you watch it, it's obviously it's the next day or whatnot. But we have a very special guest. As I've been mentioning this whole time, I've been doing these interviews with people who have been on my show before, especially people that I personally are like and that are my favorites and that I like to see if they'd like to come back. And since it's been a successful journey so far, why not keep the trend going? So this time we got a friend of mine who I met back in Rapid City, South Dakota when I lived there back in 2014. And known about the guy for quite a while because of his Into the Music series that he currently still does through independent radio and through certain radio stations across the area, including good old Pioneer 941. They still broadcast it. They've been the ones that've been broadcasting it for a long time. Since I've known of you and what you do. Anyway, he is a musical. I'm going to say a music nut because he loves music.
I was hoping for a more noble word than that.
How
about connoisseur?
Connoisseur. How about
certainly expert?
Is thespian a good word, or does that mean something else?
That means something else. But you're getting it right. Yeah, at least that's got more syllables. I kind of like that one. Aficionado. How about that?
Oh wow! Oh boy, you're just going up there with the dictionary, aren't you?
That's right.
proper etiquette anyway for this music man anyway. I was calling you music man. You love music. You're all about the music. You love to get into the music. I'll definitely say, ladies and gentlemen, join me for the third time on the show. First time on the video, Mr. Alan Neff. Al,
right.
Nice to see you again.
You as well. And I'm making an exception to my general rule. Like I don't appear on video very often at all. That's why I got into radio. I like to be the man behind the curtain. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. But okay, I'll step out from behind the curtain now.
We both have that face for radio, although you have a face that looks like you were like a comedian at one time, or a current comedian that's known to be weird and also his name now. Yes, Chris Rock. Yes. Or Kid Rock. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Or I got a new one for you. A guy, you ever watched the movie called Talk Radio?
Oh, yes. A long time ago. Sure.
In some of your early pictures that I was looking at on your Facebook page, when you were younger, you kind of had a beard and and it looked exactly like the guy who played in the movie Talk Radio.
The guy that got killed?
Yes, but who was in the movie? Yeah. Who was in the movie? Who was the main character anyway?
Yeah, played by Eric Bogosian, as I remember.
Yes, I have it on Blu-ray. I bought it not too long ago.
You know that story is based on a true story that happened in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, I Oliver Stone was talking about that because it's one of his movies. Mm-hmm. And he had a bonus interview segment or whatever on that disc, and he was talking about how it was it was kind of also like a screenplay too that was written by Eric and turned into a movie. So yeah, but anyway,
well, let's hope that that's not my fate.
No. I don't want that to be your fate. I just say you kind of in your early days. I mean, now it's just all Weird Al, but whatever.
No, you're the only one that thinks that.
Yeah, that's right. But it's good to have you on, though. Yeah.
I met Weird Al. He's a stud. I hung out with Weird Al. And I used to play an accordion for a while as a kid, so that bonded me with Weird Al. I'm here to tell you, Weird Al is super smart, and he's a stud. He's like 6'2" and well-built. You don't mess with Weird Al. And
he still has that long black curly hair, and it doesn't seem like he could ever either lose that hair or dye it. He probably might dye it a little bit, I'm sure, whatever. But, to have nice black hair at his age, it's like, wow. Well, but anyway.
That's called showbiz, Frankie.
Yeah, I'm sure. I know showbiz. I've been around a little bit. I'm not an entertainer myself, but I guess I like to consider myself a little entertainer, like a part of entertainment anyway, even though it's just local stuff or whatnot. But so how you been doing?
Oh, life has sucked the past couple of years.
Oh,
I mean, I got
not
divorced
excited.
and then there was a pandemic. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
been pretty
yeah.
terrible.
Oh, well, that's interesting. I
How
mean,
about you?
blow chunks, man. I tell you.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Blow.
you pick yourself up at the end of the day and you keep moving forward. So I'm still pursuing my life's work with Into the Music. And I'm back in radio full time. I had left radio behind, other than producing Into the Music, I'd left radio behind for 15 years. And now I'm back in radio. So some good things have happened too.
Oh, that's awesome. It probably feels like you're back home. Even though you
Yes.
are technically home, but you're like, home being in the booth and all that, or being behind the mic, but
Yes,
being on there longer.
that's right. Yeah, I got into radio when I was 17, so it has always been my vision of what I wanted to do with my life. There just came a time that you probably understand. There came a time in the industry when things became so corporately consolidated and automated and syndicated that I sensed that there was no longer a future for me in the radio industry. And I was teaching radio at St. Cloud State University, and it became a moral conflict for me to point people toward radio, knowing that it was a diminishing medium.
Sure.
So I went more into teaching. I have a master's degree, so I became a professor. Well, I was doing that at St. Cloud State, but I expanded my portfolio when I moved to Colorado, and enjoyed that very much as well. But when I came back to Minnesota and became aware of a station called The Goat, WXYG, which is a deep track, very deep track, classic rock format, then I decided that I would come back to the plate and take a few more swings.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what's so nice about that. We need more deep track stations. I mean, that's against the hits, and I say this to a lot of people that we talk music about, or with, and I say, I just don't understand how all these songs can be. People like listen to the same stuff over and over again. They don't care, and there's a lot of people that don't. But there's people like you and I, and a few others anyway, that kind of do care. That let's listen to the whole album, or let's listen to some other cuts. Come on now. You know?
Mhm. Well, I liken it to fast food, what's happened to the restaurant industry. So McDonald's gives you McDonald's. It's the same thing, standardized every time, no matter where you are.
Yeah,
Same with Burger King. And then there's variations like Arby's and Hardee's and, on down the line,
sure.
Culver's. And I enjoy food from those restaurants on occasion, but that is how society has distilled music down into a very manageable cash cow type of selection. And so people become conditioned to it because they've never known anything else. It's akin to if you've ever read the book 1984 by George Orwell, where they limited the language to limit the patterns of thought. I think the same things have happened within our society. They're dumbing us down intentionally.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And I feel the same way. I mean, it's just like back in the day when you're like in high school or just in school, they always talked about how the real world is going to be so great, how it's going to be so promising and full of hope and everything. Well, what happened to that?
Well, but on the other hand, when I was growing up, I watched Star Trek. I loved that show, and in that show, in the future, they could communicate with one another as we are now, through a visual screen. And I'm like, wow,
Sure.
how about that? And then there was the communicator. Remember the little thing,
Yep,
a
yep, yep.
handheld communication device. And now the capabilities of the communicator on Star Trek is like 1% of what we can do with our smartphones.
Oh,
So there's a lot
absolutely.
of cool stuff happening too.
Oh yeah, I mean, I love the technology. I mean, I used to have, and I feel bad for doing this, but I used to have a nice CD collection, a physical collection like most people used to have. I see you have some CDs behind you and all that stuff.
Right.
Uh, but then I was stupid and I got rid of them all or sold them all or whatever because I found Spotify. And I thought,
Yeah.
well, great, digital music is here. All right, it's a lot. Where was this 20 years ago? Before Napster and all that stuff.
Hmm.
But I still collect physical media like movies and stuff like that. I have a few CDs, but more movies than anything else because I'm a movie. I love movies so much. It's like an escape, just like music is. So
Do
I
you
listen to
still have
everything:
DVDs?
DVDs, Blu-rays, 4Ks. I mean,
Okay.
not
All right.
not to toot a horn or anything like that, but The only good thing that came out of this pandemic was being able to afford a nice big screen TV. I've always wanted one of those things, and finally dedicated home theater just because I wanted that. So it was kind of nice. Gave me some time to really think and open my mind and think about being creative and not like gave me a chance to breathe a little bit. That's the only thing that's really been good about this. I've had a chance to breathe. But
Mhm.
listen to music. I mean, I had a big collection and then I got rid of it because of Spotify and everything. And but like with you, I mean, you have discs. Do you still have like a vinyl collection too, or are you just
Oh, I
kind of
do. Yeah, absolutely. But it's more, I think, just a product of my generation and my inclinations as a person. I can get nostalgic about almost anything.
sure?
Where's an example? Um, okay, how about this? This is a bottle of beer. It's Budweiser, and it says Budweiser Millennium. I've never opened it. It still has the beer in there, but you wouldn't want to drink it. This is from when we turned this turn of the century. From 1999
Yeah.
to 2000. It's the Millennium Edition, and
Oh,
so I saved a bottle of beer that I still have proudly displayed as an ornament in my office
jeez.
because it reminds me of a certain moment in time.
Sure.
The vinyl is the same way. On occasion, I'll put on an album. I have vinyl and I have a turntable, but I mean, honestly, it's more for the nostalgia, for the sensation of it than the music itself. If I
Uh-huh.
if I want the music, I'll usually choose a digital format.
Sure, sure. And do you use Spotify or are you an iTunes guy? Or I suppose it's called Apple Music now, I suppose.
Honestly, because of my engagement with the goat, with my station, I typically
Yeah.
listen to the goat and I enjoy it, but I'm also monitoring it to make sure that it sounds the way that I want it to sound.
Oh, sure, sure. Hey, I mean, that's
And
that's
I and
good.
I like the sensation of not knowing exactly what I'm going to hear next. Although, of course, I give a cursory review of the playlist and I move a few things around, so it's never a total surprise when something comes on.
Uh-huh.
For me. But I like that sensation when I listen to the radio when a song comes on that I'm not expecting at that time to when it's a complete surprise. Whereas I think many people these days, they have the expectation that, if you can choose your own music, that's better, but only to a certain point, because then there's never a surprise there. That's
Yeah.
why radio is still appealing to me.
Well, that's what I like about it. It's like some people still have that old nostalgic feeling about radio, like back in the day when your DJ was your friend. You could call him up and
That's
make a
right.
request and everything. I mean, how many stations allow that anymore? Even how about out down your area?
Oh,
Do
yeah.
they?
I
Do
do
this?
whatever I want.
Oh, so if somebody calls you and does a request,
Yeah,
you can do that.
absolutely.
Okay,
And
because there's a
and
lot that.
sometimes they'll and sometimes they'll walk in the door to get a sticker. Soon we'll have new T-shirts that are for sale,
Oh,
and they walk in and buy a T-shirt or get a sticker over the counter, and I'll take a request from them in person.
wow.
Absolutely,
Because up here it's kind of like a dying art. There isn't really many
I
stations.
know.
There are too many corporate sellouts, I'm sorry to say. Or
Yeah,
people that
well,
just don't want to be involved with other people, I guess.
it's not how the industry works anymore. That's right. But I still work for a family-owned and operated company that began in 1963. And God bless Herb Hoppy, the founder of our company, because he got a good deal on the land and paid that off long ago, and then built the house literally with his own hands that we broadcast from. So that's paid for. And he was a farm kid, and he just kind of did things along the way. He didn't buy it until he could pay for it. So we are not so driven by debt or stockholders as most radio stations are today. So we can be more experimental with our type of programming.
Oh, well, that's awesome. I mean, he did it the right way then, so that everybody could benefit in their own way. Whoever was going to be part of the station. I like that. At least the guy cares about people. Not many corporate people care about people. They just care about how
Right.
much money is the station making.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
that's crazy. That's crazy.
And of course,
So
everybody has to meet their bottom line, and the
yeah,
employees need to be paid and so forth. But I'm grateful that the way that this company has evolved, and I worked there in years past as well before I moved to Colorado. So I had an engagement with the family and with some of the key employees, and so I was able to find my way back to it. But to my knowledge, it's one of very, very few companies still in existence in the broadcast industry that's like this. And they were willing to take the chance to put what was at one time called a progressive rock format
Yeah.
back on the air. We're really in some ways duplicating a format that was quite popular in the mid and late 70s, but essentially met its end with the origination of classic rock in the early 80s and the onset of MTV.
Oh,
Which of
sure.
course we're back to the visual thing now. MTV
Yeah,
came on, and you're probably fond of it, but what it did was it gave you the pictures. You didn't get to imagine the pictures anymore. You accepted the story that they gave you, and that
sure.
changed the nature of music at that time.
And then for the next 14 years, they allowed that, right? Or the next 15 years, or however long they did music videos for on that channel,
Hmm.
until it became
Right.
until it's not a music channel no more.
Yeah,
You
now
know,
that's old news.
same with CMT and all that. CMT used to be a country music videos all day long. That's all we're going to show you, or do some countdowns or whatever. And now we got Hogan Knows Best on CMT.
Hmm. I'll
So
be honest with you, I disconnected my TV. I haven't watched TV for 3 years.
ah, well, that's all right. I mean,
You're the only TV I've seen. I
really.
mean,
Oh,
I still
geez.
watch movies and stuff, but no,
Oh,
I haven't
sure.
actually watched TV for 3 years.
Well, that's kind of how I do it. I don't have cable or nothing. I mean, I have Sling, but that's I watch that only to watch wrestling. I still watch wrestling once in a while. So
I see
you
your
know,
WrestleMania. Here's one for you. I like this. Hold on. Where did I put it?
you got yourself a wrestling shirt or something?
No, I've got a picture. I just saw it the other night. I've got a picture of Baron von Raschke.
Ah,
I don't know what I did with it. I met Baron von Raschke. He came here to St. Cloud for this. It was an exhibition match. He wasn't actually wrestling, but I got a chance to meet him, and he was a really, really wonderful person.
oh yeah.
So I got a picture of him wrestling Jesse Ventura in
Ah,
Jesse's early career. And of course, Jesse became our governor later.
yeah. Oh yeah. Of the great state of Minnesota.
Uh-huh. So I got to find my picture. I don't know what I did with it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway, he was a super nice guy. And there was a
Oh,
young
yeah.
woman standing behind me in line when I went to meet him, shake his hand, and tell him how much I enjoyed watching him when I was a kid.
Sure.
And then there was this young woman behind me, and I'm like, why would she be here to see Baron von Raschke? And I found out that he had been her high school English teacher when he
Oh,
retired from wrestling.
sure.
John is his real
Yeah.
name. He's quite a very verbally fluent person. He's an avid reader, and he became an English teacher after he was the arch villain of
Oh, wow. Well, that's pretty.
All-Star
That's pretty
Wrestling.
cool. Yeah, you
Yeah.
just never know about some of these guys. All these things. Some had to find other jobs. Others were just successful by their name. Just because of how big they were. So, just it's kind of the same nowadays. But it seems like now, if you're a wrestler, if you're a young wrestler trying to make it, sometimes not going to the big dogs is going to help you because they may help you a little bit, but it won't make you last that long. You may want to go to a smaller company just to be more successful. So that's what I get from wrestling nowadays. Anyway.
I think it's a really tough way of life
Yeah.
that I would never engage in, but I've had a lot of wonderful times. I used to watch wrestling with my mom. Weirdly
Oh.
enough, when I think of pro wrestling, I think of my mom.
Oh, no, and we just had Mother's Day just a couple days ago. So
That's right.
yeah, it's
That's
only fitting, right? Yeah.
right.
Yeah. So other than doing the radio, I mean, what have you been doing in your spare time?
I have no spare time. I'm completely devoted to radio. Here's the
Oh,
sticker. Here's the station. Album
yes.
rock, not classic rock. It's called
Yep.
the GOAT, WXYG. You can see that we have a goat on a microphone. That's our emblem. To
Well, it's
my
in Colorado,
knowledge,
so yeah.
pardon me?
It's in Colorado, right? In Denver, you
No, no,
said?
I'm in St. Cloud, Minnesota.
No. The goat. Isn't that in
No,
Colorado?
the goat is in St. Cloud, Minnesota.
I thought it was in Denver. Or
That's the
no?
mountain.
That's the
That's
mountain.
the
Oh,
that's the
Jesus.
station that Into the Musica is on KQMT in Denver, the mountain.
Oh, okay.
Right.
See, got it all mixed up here. Jeez,
Well,
I should
I
know.
wouldn't anticipate that you could keep track of my life any more
No,
than I could keep track of yours because you talk to a lot of people.
yeah. Well, I do, but it's all a humbling experience. No matter how many times I talk to somebody, I'm always humbled, and I always enjoy it. Even if we chatted a year ago or whatever, or 10 years ago, it just that's why I want to have you on again because I know that we could find something to talk about. Not only just to keep the people who watch this interested and invested, but like you know there's probably some of my viewers that know of you're into the music series. which I still love to this day, even though I haven't listened to an episode in quite a while, but I remember it very well from the days of Pioneer 9.1 and when I was in Rapid City. So I mean, it's like I still think about some of the people who you highlighted and everything, and a lot of my favorite singers come from your show and everything. So
Sure,
you
sure.
know,
There's 240 completed hours. Every hour that you would hear on the air represents an investment, a time investment of 30 to 40 hours of research, writing, voice work, production, duplication, distribution. So if you times 240 hours of finished programming
uh-huh.
with 30 to 40 hours of time invested, I would say that that's my life's work. It's currently carried on 8 radio stations around the country. The biggest cylinder in the engine would be KQMT in Denver. That's a 50,000 watt FM station in a major metro area. It's been on there for, I think, 12 years, and it's quite well received. The newest station to take it on is called The Summit. So I have the mountain and the summit.
Uh-huh.
That's in Akron, Ohio, which has a companion city, Youngstown, Ohio, total metro area of about 500,000 people. So that's also, it gives quite a wide reach, and it's been very well received
Oh
in
wow.
Ohio. The rest of our stations are in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Washington.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean that's still impressive, no matter what, to have your stuff played on all types of stations. I mean, geez, I think that the first time I was like introduced to your format was probably, oh, I don't know, how long have you been doing this? It was like 2004, 2005, roughly
Well,
about,
the
or
first, the first, uh, the rough draft of the concept happened in 1983.
oh, okay, a lot longer than
So
that.
here's what happened, Frankie. So I'm on the air at KBSC, that's the campus station at St. Cloud State
Yep.
University, where I was engaged for over 20 years before moving to Colorado. I was just doing a show, and my girlfriend came in. She had been at a work party where they were celebrating that they had reached some sort of goal, and they had champagne there. So my girlfriend brought in a bottle of champagne and these plastic glasses where you had to assemble them yourself. Like you put
Oh,
the stem and then the globe that holds the champagne on top of it.
oh, okay.
And so I was having champagne with my girlfriend in the studio while I was on the air. Security came by and I got busted for having alcohol on a no alcohol campus,
Sure,
even
sure.
though it was quite innocent. So my roommate was actually had made a recording of the show. So I had a cassette recording of the show. I could prove that I was not intoxicated, but the manager of the radio station had to suspend me just to make it look good for the university.
Oh, absolutely,
So I got
absolutely.
kicked off the air for 60 days. But then a friend of mine said, well, I wonder if you could do a recorded program. And so we asked the station manager, and he was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I began recording what I wanted to do anyway, which is to go into more depth about the artists that I was interested in.
Sure.
And the very first, it was called at the time the Inside Story rather than Into the Music, but it was the same general format. And the very first Inside Story was Leonard Skinner, because my friend who helped me with it was a Leonard Skinner fanatic. And when his puppy, or when his dog had puppies, it had 7 puppies, and he named all the puppies after the members of Leonard Skinner.
Jeez.
That was the genesis of my life's work.
Wow, puppies. Eh?
Well, that was just a side note, but it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
getting kicked off the air for drinking that began the
sure.
pathway that I took to probably my major professional accomplishment.
So
I
let it.
became
Okay,
serious about it when I left the obligations that I'd accumulated in Minnesota behind and moved to Colorado, and that was in 2002. So
okay.
let's say I'm now coming up on the 20th anniversary of taking this project seriously.
Sure, sure, sure. And was Leonard Skinner still your first artist that you covered when you actually started doing the show, or was it another artist?
Well, the first is always the first. It's like your first girlfriend is
Well,
always your first
sure,
girlfriend.
absolutely.
It's just that you add more on after that, or at least
Yeah.
hopefully you get the opportunity. So
So,
yes, Leonard Skinner will always be the first, but the question is
oh,
who would be
who
the most
was the first,
recent?
or who's on first, right? Yeah, yeah. Like Abbott and Costello stuff now.
No, Leonard Skinner is always on first, but the Who
Oh,
came next.
so who came next? Okay.
So who was on second?
Oh, Jesus. And the point being is that the show is still amazing after all these, these last couple decades, or what would say you're on your third decade now, I'd say, I'm doing the
Well,
show.
I'm gonna start the clock ticking. When I started to do it seriously, where I really started to dedicate myself to the quality of research and writing that the program represents today, then that started in early 2002.
Okay. Okay. So
And then,
almost
and
20
then by
years.
that point, there had been the name change from the Inside Story to Into the Music. So the program that you know has been going about 20 years.
Okay. Okay. That's, yeah. I mean, it's coming up close to my 20-year anniversary of when I graduated from high school. This year will be 19. Next year will be 20. So, yeah,
Mhm.
sounds about right. But I think, like, when did you actually start this, or do you remember when Pioneer or KSRQ picked it up?
Well, it took a couple of years to get the library to the point to where I felt comfortable with putting it out to stations and being able to commit to the frequency of production that you have to commit to. So I would guess that Pioneer came along in maybe 2004, 2005.
Probably when Travis Ryder was in charge, probably.
That's right. And I know Travis personally from when he was with, oh, I'm not really sure the station. He later went on to KBEM, I
Yeah,
believe.
he from Morris, Minnesota, I believe, or
Okay.
somewhere around
That
there.
would be that would be KUMM.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
some jazz station or something like that. I think
Well,
he
that's
went back there.
KBEM. That's in the Twin Cities, and that's a fascinating station where they have a jazz format and also traffic information, and it's run primarily by. It's set in a high school, so there are
Huh.
professionals there that do the core programming, but high school students get the chance to do radio. It's really
Yeah,
a beautiful setup. That can be the future of radio.
I wish my school would have had a radio station, man. That would have changed everything. I
Sure,
guarantee it. But
sure.
didn't have that experience until I went to college at
Mhm.
Northland. So yeah,
Well, but at least you got it there. Now,
yeah.
as a person who used to teach the radio classes at St. Cloud State, which have now been eliminated because radio is a diminishing medium, but what I would say is that to be able to do radio well, you have to develop skill sets that can be transferable to many lines of work, if you want to call it that, to many professional disciplines that require communication and compositional skills.
Oh sure.
So
And
doing radio is good for you, even if you don't go into radio.
it took me a long time to really get those skills down, because even though I never graduated from the department, I feel like I have enough experience that could make me a professional, even though I'm technically probably not. You know,
Mhm.
unlike yourself, where you are a professional. I mean, I say hands down to you. I'm like, worshiping you almost like, like a legend. Because you're kind of a legend, one of the legends in the business, or one of the heroes that I have, because I have many heroes, and I consider you not only a friend but a hero, because you've inspired me to do my stuff better by just listening to your shows and everything, and that's awesome that it's still doing well. You know.
I can't not do it. I'm driven. I'm obsessive compulsive about it. I have to do it. And maybe you inherited a little bit of that too.
Yeah.
So let's see if we'll pick this up. I have this pin here. It's another one of my, my obsessive compulsive
Yeah.
things. I love radio. I still love radio.
Yeah.
And yet I recognize that radio, as I have known it in my life experience, it can't stay the same. It can for certain formats for a while longer, like what I do right now. But incorporating other technologies and types of appeal into what radio has been traditionally will become necessary. So even the visual component, I think it does add a new color to the palette, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. And I remember the days, like, I guess what kind of got me interested in radio growing up was I used to listen to the station called was KSNR. It was like in Grand Forks or Thief River, is like one of their local stations, where there was a guy named Jim Zippo. I'm sure you are familiar with the name Zippo. He had
I'm
the
not, but I love the name.
Zippo. He had his Zippo in the morning show, which is it was like, he wasn't there in studio, but he was like, it was like a satellite show or whatever, network show. But anyway, it felt like he was one of us, and he loved the oldies, and we always enjoyed his shows and loved listening to the oldies, because that's the music that, even though I was born in the '80s, that's kind of the music I grew up on. I
Sure.
didn't just grow up on current stuff. I grew up on Buddy Holly and Del Shannon and Roy Orbison and stuff like that. So I have more of appreciation for it than my brother would or my sister would or some people that I know. But there's people that love all types of tastes of music, obviously. But for myself, that's what kind of got me out because I was always kind of wondering how radio people were able to do what they do. How are you able to broadcast? How are you able to put a show together? How are you able to record? How do you air the commercials and blah blah blah? And when I went to the school at Northland, they were just getting rid of the carts and everything and the
Right.
old way and started to do the new stuff. So I never really had a chance to really do the old way of things. I got into the digital age. So that's kind of what I know. So like a commercial or recording a commercial or doing something is easy to me when it's on, but you can just do it on the computer and send it to whoever needs it to be sent to and blah blah blah. But back in the day, you had to do everything. It was harder, but I'm sure it made it more fun just to be able to do that stuff. I
You had to
suppose.
be on top of your game to make it sound right. You
Yeah.
know, there was always a need for precise execution. And so when things went well and you did well, that was a very rewarding feeling. And then when something got screwed up for one reason or another, then, you'd turn the mic off and swear a lot.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And then
So it
accidentally
was it
realize it's
was
still
better
on.
and not as good at the same time.
Yeah. But do you think you had more fun back in the day, or do you still have fun now? Like, I mean, you
Oh,
like
I
it,
still have fun now, especially, with my format. I still have a lot of fun now.
Okay.
But I would say, at least to my view, sadly, this is the only format like this in the country. And but another thing that's changed is that now through streaming, we actually reach a global audience. I have a very dedicated listener in Ghent, Belgium,
Huh.
and he was attracted to the station because he was a big fan of pirate radio, or what he calls
Oh,
offshore radio, in
yep.
the 60s and 70s. And what we do reminds him of Radio Caroline, which was a very famous album rock station that existed on a ship in
Ah,
international waters. Another dedicated fan in Istanbul, Turkey. One time the stream went out, I got emails from South Africa, Scotland, and Honduras. So most of it is, people stopping into the station to get a T-shirt. I
yeah.
experienced that in real life, and then emails coming in from people around the country, particularly people of my age group that have gone to California, Nevada, Arizona, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Sun
Sure.
Belt, right?
Yeah.
That have, in some cases, fled the northern regions because they are done with most of their professional career and they want to be warmer. Fair enough. Um, but it goes sort of like local people just down the street to the Twin Cities, where we have a good audience built up just down the road, to on a national level, and then even to a global level. So it's very enjoyable and exciting.
Oh, that's awesome. Streaming, I tell you, it's been crazy. I mean, even doing what I'm doing and doing, anytime I'm on a station that allows streaming, it's like that really, I'm really impressed by it because, it's a global audience indeed. I don't know who listens, like when it comes to overseas or anything like that myself, but somebody's tuning into something, and it's amazing.
Somebody's
I,
tuning into something, and there's a
but
lot of
what
somebodies.
but what I've heard though is and nothing against America or the USA or whatever, but it seems like things like involving art or music or theater or whatever is a lot more appreciated in on the other side of the world than it really is around here. Like Del Shannon, was more popular in the European countries than he was in America. Well, why is that? Or why do you think that is?
Well, there is a mystique to America, the whole idea of America, and rock and roll was born here. And so I have a friend who knew Del Shannon, and my friend is the son of Bobby V, and Del Shannon and Bobby V were quite good friends.
Sure.
So there was a time where they went to Malaysia to play a gig in Kuala Lumpur. But then while they were there in that part of the world, they went back into the jungle and they wanted to have the experience of, floating down the river for a while and checking into a completely different reality. And they even, had some level of connection with the native peoples of that region in Malaysia.
Okay.
And so my friend was speaking with someone, a Malaysian person who lived back in the jungle, and he couldn't speak English very well, but he understood that these guys were musicians, and he said, "Smokey." Smokey, and he was speaking of Smokey Robinson.
Ah,
Okay. So even in the jungles of Malaysia, people have a connection with American pop culture, and it only happens here. So it's really quite a beautiful thing.
well, I know I have another friend that, or somebody I'll be interviewing on Thursday. His name is Randy Hanson. He's out of Seattle, Washington. He does a Jimi Hendrix tribute. I don't know if you were ever aware of that or not, or
No.
aware of him. But his stuff, at least his tribute stuff, is more popular like in Germany than it
Hmm.
is here in the USA. So I mean, he's popular around the Seattle area because that's all Hendrix country and whatever. But it's
Sure.
just it's just kind of weird how that works. So I've never understood it, no matter how many times people explain it to me. It's just I figured music would be celebrated everywhere it goes, which I think most of the time it is, especially now here in America where we just once things are starting to get back to normal, then people want to rock out again. So I'm sure you yourself too, you'll probably have many concerts and stuff that you like to go to, I'm sure.
Well, yes, time and money permitting, but I
uh,
will have to say that I was lucky enough in my lifespan and experience to see hundreds of concerts. And I missed a few along the way that I really would have liked to have seen. Ray Charles, Johnny Cash. There's others out there that I can name, but most of the bands and artists that I would want to have seen, I've already had that experience. Not that I
okay.
wouldn't want to go back one more time, but my mission right now is to cultivate the goat as a station and a vehicle for that music, and to continue my work with my series into the music.
Sure.
So my life isn't really about having fun right now. It's about getting the job done.
Sure. Oh, I understand, and that
So kind of what you were saying about the pandemic before, it gave you more time. It gave me more time as well.
eh,
And you can use that time in various ways, but
sure.
I've been able to not have to feel guilty about not going out on Friday or Saturday night because someone invited me, because that wasn't possible. Now I'm re-engaging with the social obligations that come with the world opening back up.
Sure. Feels like a new chapter in life or whatever. Like we're finally like we were in a movie or like a horror movie and now we survived it or something like that. Or
Yeah,
something
but
anyway.
it'll be interesting to see how many things, how many aspects of life truly return to what we would define as normal, and things that will be forever altered because of this past year plus.
Sure. Does your station do they sponsor any like concerts or do ticket giveaways or anything like that when somebody comes to the area?
Oh yeah, we do ticket giveaways. It's a fairly small operation, so we haven't been the reason that someone came to St. Cloud.
Okay.
But I think that certainly will happen. We do this one thing it's another unique aspect of our programming. We do a thing called the Goat Guest DJ every Saturday from noon until 2. I do a live show with a guest somewhere in the world. Now, in the past, it would be people coming into the studio and doing it right there with me, 4 or 5 feet away from me. But then the
Sure.
pandemic happened, so we started doing it by phone. That opened up a door to where we now have guests from all over the country. And my
Huh.
guest last Saturday was a guy named Tommy Talton, who was a member of the band Cowboy. Now, they're
Okay.
not a particularly well known band, but some people listening right now might know Cowboy. They were members of Capricorn Records, which was the center of Southern rock in the 1970s. So the Allman Brothers Band and Marshall Tucker and Charlie Daniels, among others, recorded at Capricorn. And this guy, Tommy Talton, he and his partner in Cowboy were sort of the core of the house band at Capricorn. So he played on, let's say, 100 hit records
Yep.
of Southern rock at that time, and knew the Allman Brothers quite well, and even knew like Dwayne and Greg Allman when he was a
Huh.
teenager.
Wow.
So he has amazing stories, and his music, and he's still making music today. It's really quite good.
Huh.
So we're hoping that we can bring him up here and put him in. We have a couple of appropriate venues in St. Cloud, and that would be a GOAT sponsored show because the music is so much a part of who we are and what we do.
Sure. No, that's cool. I mean, because it's like I always kind of wonder. Like I know our Pioneer used to do, so they do. I mean, they've done some ticket giveaways and stuff, but I don't really keep track now of how often that happens anymore. Especially with what we were going through and everything. And now that I'm no longer a part of that station, I just, I haven't really been really paying attention. I've been more focused on doing stuff like this, and looking forward to, things getting back to normal a little bit anyway. So,
Sure.
other than anything else, is there anything else you want to talk about at all that's important or
No,
anything?
actually, I'm getting kind of hungry because I came straight
Okay.
from work. I've been at work since about noon today, and it's now 10:17. So
Yes. Yes.
I need to actually get some food in my system.
Sure.
But I would encourage people to simply Google the goat, WXYG, and there's an AM frequency, AM 540, and an FM frequency, 94.3. But remotely, you can get it through the website. Just stream it through the website, or there's the TuneIn mobile phone app. So it's quite accessible to them. And then as far as Into the Music, it's carried on the goat every night because the catalog of Into the Music is large enough to sustain a daily schedule now, as opposed to
Sure.
just a weekly schedule like on Pioneer.
Yeah.
I feel bad sometimes when someone hears the show on one of the stations that carries it on a weekly level, and they say, "Hey, I missed the show on JJ Cale. When will that be on again?" And the answer is like 2 years from now, because I have 240 episodes.
Especially when you can fluctuate the catalog and everything, you can shuffle it as much as you want, pretty much. Yeah, as far as that goes. I had to let the dog in because he just started scratching the door.
That's funny. I was like, "Is the interview over, Frankie?"
Oh no!
Okay.
Oh
All
no!
right.
Oh no!
But
Well,
we
it's
but we
almost.
do need to wrap it up. I would encourage people to check out the Goat, and that's a great home for Into the Music on between 8 and 9 Central Time. And also, I wanted to say that our website has been down for a while, and that's a shame. But I'm going through some domain name rights issues, and so that's just the way it is right now. But it should be back soon.
All right. Well, hey, I do appreciate you taking the time. I mean, I know it was kind of last minute when I asked you, but I'm just glad you said yes again. And hopefully things work better now than they ever had before, huh?
That's right. I think we're going to emerge out into the world, and it's going to be mostly the same with a few differences, and some of those differences will even have a silver lining. So
Absolutely.
let's all think
Absolutely.
positive and decide what we want to do next.
All right. Well, I appreciate you, Al, and you know, love you, man. You're a legend in my book.
Thank you very much, Frankie.
You're
I
welcome.
also have my production company is called Highway 61, and so there's my Highway 61 decorative soap.
I was there. That's a piece of soap.
In the
Wow.
shape of the state of Minnesota. That's right.
Oh, of course. Of
That was
course.
all just stuff that was in arm's reach.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I appreciate it. And thanks again for everything
You're
that you
welcome.
do. All right,
Thank you.
man. Have a good one.
You too.